But they hit a snag in July, mainly due to disagreements over farm subsidies in developed countries. Telkom and ICASA have come under fire from frustrated consumers. The consumers will publish an advert in a national newspaper calling for the reform of the telecommunications sector. They say the telecom's prices are too high. The campaign is led by the Telecommunications Action Group. Alistair Otter is the founder of the Telecommunications Action Group, and he joins us now. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Nicole.
There's been a litany of attacks on Telkom and on high prices. What has led you to this current move? Is it just about prices? Is it just about Telkom?
Paul, it's not just about prices. Perhaps a little bit of background. We wrote an article a number of months ago in which we half-jokingly put out the idea of getting consumers to contribute to a campaign to tell Telkom, government and ICASA and the regulator what we felt about the pricing issues in South Africa. And the response to that was so large and so rapid that we decided to push ahead with it, and we set up the campaign. And we said to people, give us a couple of $100 and let's see where we go from there, and we'll see what we can do with it. Within a couple of days, we had enough money for a full-page advert. And over the months, we've had to decide exactly what it is that we focused on. And the key issues for us, yes, is pricing, but it's also about making telecommunication services available to all South Africans at an affordable price in a way that benefits the development in the country. I think what we've seen to date is that Telkom's prices, and Telkom is the primary objective of the campaign in many ways because they have been the monopoly operator. They have managed to put these enormous prices onto the telecom services over the years, and people haven't had any option but to go with them.
What about government and ICASA, the industry regulator?
Well, that is another very major concern for us, is that the ICASA, the regulator, is meant to have licensed a second national operator a number of years ago, almost more than 3 years ago. We only saw the licensing of that operator late last year, and although the Minister of Communications has suggested late last year that we would start to see the benefits of having a second national operator early this year, in reality we're not going to see the benefits of Neotel until perhaps the middle of this year, perhaps the end of this year. So in effect, consumers still have no option. Okay,
that being the case, what difference do you think a second operator will make to the industry, given the dominance of Telkom already?
I think people had very high hopes for a second national operator. Suddenly everything was going to change. The reality is not going to change, and we're not naive to believe that given the monopoly of Telkom and the cost of setting up a network that Neotel will have to do, that there will be overnight change. I think that Neotel will make changes. I think that they've already come out and they've started to provide business type of services, but for consumers, they're not necessarily going to go for the low end of the market either and try and compete with Telkom on price, because they can't compete against a monopoly.
So what solutions are you hoping it will bring to the market?
I think that the competition is the primary benefit. I think that we're seeing, since the licensing of the second national operator, we've seen Telkom dropping their prices, particularly around broadband products. The prices have come down every few months. We're starting to see that pressure being put on Telkom, where they're starting to look into other parts of Africa, into other avenues to start generating revenue that they are potentially worried about losing to the second operator.
Do you agree with the view that Telkom is paying much attention to the upper end of the spectrum at the cost of ordinary people?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I think we've seen that. There was a license condition that Telkom needed to provide a lines to underserviced areas, is one good example. In the most recent filing to the Securities Exchange Commission, Telkom very blatantly said, well, we couldn't provide those lines. That's unfortunate, and the fine is only 15 million rand, so it's not really a huge loss to us. When we consider that last year Telkom operating profit was in the region of 9.3 billion rand, even on after-profit tax of 4.5 billion or close to 5 billion, 15 million rand is not very much to pay for missing your licensing condition, which meant that there were approximately 16,000 people without lines that were agreed to initially. So yes, I think they have focused at the high end of the market, and I think that the low end of of the market is suffering.
And what about access to broadband? We've seen that the frequency of customers on the internet obviously increases the demand for it, and also the need for it to be taken also to homes. How urgent would you say government needs to step in, or even the regulator, to make broadband more accessible?
This is a key issue, and this is the heart of the matter for us at the Telecoms Action Group. And it is something that I think even from President Thabo Mbeki has recognized, that giving people access to the information age through broadband, through internet access, through email, is a key way to develop the country. And I think the role that Telkom and the regulator have played at this point has stifled the opportunities that people could have had, and we're hindering the country in giving people access to the World Wide Web and the worldwide knowledge, and we're not able to develop from that. And I think that is a flaw that we need to overcome.
In closing, what are the solutions? I mean, we've seen Telkom cut costs and probably maybe offset by other services that they're providing. What are you suggesting as an action group?
Well, I mean, yes, we would like to see the market opened up as much as possible to other operators. We're not just happy with one second national operator. Perhaps a third one would come along. In this country, we've proved that three operators don't necessarily open up the market entirely, but we would like to see a much broader opening up of the market. We would like to see more operators, particularly in the wireless and mobile space, being given access to a lot of the technology and the infrastructure that Telkom has, which essentially is a national asset, our national backbone for communications. Telkom is sitting on that and making a profit off it. Open that up, make it more accessible to other operators where they can compete on price and service, and deliver a broad range of services that everyone can buy into at the high and the low end.
And how important is this consumer action in coming together and forcing this type of change in the industry?
We think it's very important. I mean, this is one step, and we're probably not naive to believe that the advert that will run in the paper on Friday will change everything. But it is important that we have consumers that have paid 100, 200 or 300 rand or whatever, are frustrated enough to want to put that kind of money down, which may be all they can afford, to say we want to see the change. And we want to, if we get anything out of this, it is that consumers can be aware that they can take action, that they can make their voices heard, even if it means collecting money and putting an advert in a newspaper. And hopefully it will spur other people to do some similar sort of actions.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
That was Alistair Otter from the Telecommunications Action Group. Your sport and weather after the break. Good night.